All right, let me ask you something, and I want you to genuinely think about it for a second. Why is it that so many people spend their entire lives working incredibly hard, literally dedicating decades to their jobs, yet never actually achieve financial freedom? It's a pretty harsh reality, right? Millions of us are locked in this persistent cycle, just constantly running on a treadmill, but never actually moving forward financially. Well, in today's Explainer, we are decoding the hidden money habits and the invisible financial mistakes that keep so many folks completely trapped in the middle class. We're going to completely deconstruct the architecture of prosperity. Okay, let's dive into this, because this right here is the question at the absolute core of the massive wealth gap we see today. You know, from the time we're young, we are handed a very specific script. Go to school, get a good job, work hard, and you'll be financially secure. But look around. You probably know people who work grueling hours, who are deeply dedicated to their professions, and yet they're just one missed paycheck away from a total crisis. The shocking truth is that hard work, while absolutely honorable and necessary, is simply not enough to guarantee wealth. Hard work is the engine, for sure, but if the steering wheel is locked in the wrong direction, you're really just driving faster toward a financial cliff. To fix this, we have to undergo a massive paradigm shift. We need to systematically deconstruct these deeply held beliefs that society has just programmed right into us.
Section 1, the hard work myth, and honestly, the biggest money myth in society today.
Zero. Literally zero. That is exactly how much true wealth a high salary actually guarantees you. It's crazy, but it is entirely possible and, in fact, incredibly common to earn a doctor's, a lawyer's, or a CEO's salary and still be completely broke. No way, right? But the world is absolutely full of high-income earners who have literally nothing to show for it behind closed doors. Why? Well, because they have fundamentally misunderstood what wealth actually is. It's like a giant puzzle they've put together backward. They're confusing the flow of water into the bucket with the amount of water the bucket can actually hold. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it forces us to separate income from net worth. Income is your active cash flow. It's what your employer pays you for your time. But net worth, that is the true measure of wealth. It's the value of the assets you actually keep and own. If you earn $500,000 a year, but you spend $500,000 a year on luxury cars, massive mortgages, and expensive vacations, your net worth isn't growing. Your wealth is zero. You aren't rich. You're just a highly paid conduit for money to flow from your employer directly into the pockets of banks and luxury brands. So how does so many really intelligent, hardworking people fall into this? Well, it happens through invisible traps. Part 2, middle-class financial traps and the true cost of upward mobility. Okay, let's get a bit serious for a second and talk about these quiet, everyday financial traps. The ones that keep the middle class living paycheck to paycheck, completely unaware that the walls are closing in on them. The absolute most dangerous of these traps is lifestyle inflation. Think about your own life for a minute. Do you remember when you got your last big raise or promotion? You probably thought, yes, finally, I'm going to have some breathing room. I'm going to save so much money. But what actually happened? A few months later, you felt just as strapped for cash as before. Why? Because your spending increased right alongside your income. You upgraded your apartment, you bought a newer car on finance, you started eating out at much nicer places. This right here is the cost of upward mobility. You didn't buy freedom with that raise, you just bought a more expensive cage. To really see how this plays out in the real world, let's contrast two classic examples. First, think about the lottery winner. They get this massive sudden influx of cash, but because they lack financial literacy, they immediately go out and buy bad debt and liabilities. Mansions with huge property taxes, fleets of sports cars, luxury items that lose value the second they are purchased. And the result? Bankruptcy. Now, compare that to the ordinary worker turned millionaire. This person never had a massive salary, but instead of inflating their lifestyle, they quietly bought assets. They invested in index funds, real estate, or small businesses over the long term. They didn't look rich, but they were silently building an empire. This just highlights the absolute danger of buying liabilities instead of assets. So if bad habits and liabilities are the trap, how do we build the ladder out? It's time to shift our focus to the solution. Let's look at the actual mechanics of escaping this trap. Part 3, Assets and Compound Interest. The real architecture of prosperity. So the crucial point is grasping the absolute mathematical difference between a liability and an asset. It's incredibly simple, but I promise you it changes everything. A liability takes money out of your pocket. That boat, that finance car, that heavy credit card debt, these are literal anchors pulling your net worth down, keeping you trapped in the cycle of needing your next paycheck just to survive. An asset, on the other hand, puts money into your pocket, even while you sleep. We're talking dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, a business you own. Assets are the foundational building blocks of passive wealth. Escaping the middle-class trap requires you to stop collecting liabilities and start hoarding assets like your life depends on it. And acquiring those assets is unbelievably powerful because of the explosive growth that happens over time. Look, when you first start investing, your growth seems slow, almost frustratingly flat. Actually, scratch that. It can feel like nothing is happening at all. But as the years go on, the interest you earn starts earning its own interest. That is compound interest in action. The growth becomes explosive. It goes totally parabolic. This proves that time in the market, paired with consistent asset accumulation, is the absolute ultimate wealth-building tool for the ordinary worker. You do not need a huge income. You just need time and consistency to let the math do the heavy lifting for you. All right, we've covered the philosophy, the traps, and the mathematics of wealth. But knowledge without execution, that's just trivia. It's time to transition into the hard, actionable steps. Part 4, Escaping the Cycle and Your Ultimate Blueprint for Financial Freedom. Before you make any major moves, you have to fix your mindset, because wealth is fundamentally habitualized. The people who actually build lasting wealth share common habits. They prioritize reading and learning. They view financial literacy as a lifelong pursuit, not a one-and-done course. They invest consistently, treating their investments like a non-negotiable monthly bill. They don't just rely on one boss. They create multiple streams of income. They think in decades, not days, completely avoiding get-rich-quick schemes. And they use smart budgeting to track every single dollar. Extraordinary financial results don't just happen by luck. They are the cumulative result of these small, consistent, daily decisions. Let's move to and see how this builds into your chronological, beginner-friendly blueprint for escaping the middle-class trap. Step 1, increase your financial knowledge. Read the books, study the markets, understand how money actually works. Step 2, build assets and aggressively avoid unnecessary bad debt. Seriously, stop financing things that go down in value. Step 3, invest early. As we just saw with compound interest, time is your greatest ally. Start now, no matter how small the amount is. And step 4, create passive income streams. Direct your hard-earned money into investments that will eventually pay for your lifestyle so that your active labor is no longer required. I really want you to let that sink in for a moment. Wealth isn't about earning more. It's about making smarter financial decisions. Your financial destiny is not determined strictly by the size of your paycheck. It is entirely determined by what you choose to do with that paycheck once it hits your bank account. You have the power to break the persistent cycle of poverty, to avoid the trap of upward mobility, and to build the architecture of your own prosperity. So I leave you with this one vital question to think about today. What will you do with your next paycheck? Will it buy another liability, or will it buy your freedom? The choice is entirely yours. If you found value in this explainer and you want to continue mastering your financial mindset, be sure to check out the original source, Money Decoded, for more real business stories and vital money lessons. Keep learning, keep investing, and start building your lasting wealth today.